we have to talk about Italy.
Ah, right. Well, I've got the wine list again, and there's quite a lot of Italian on this. The Gordon's Wine Bar wine list is Gavi, the Pinot Grigio, Dal Venezi, Friulano. That's all the whites. But on the reds, there are even more, and even more harder to pronounce. So this should be
Eccellente.
So the Barbera 1212. It's at Oltreppo Pavese, Castello di Sigolnola. Oh, and there's a Chianti, and I think it's the one that we might have talked about in episode 1. It's the Uggiano Rocchialanta.
Problem with Chianti is some great wines, some not so good wines.
The Montepulciano d'Abruzzo Passifino.
I think you said Montepulciano d'Abruzzo. You get the point, Ol. Italy is confusing. The biggest bugbear sometimes is, oh blimey, Italy. How do you get your head round Italy? How do you put your finger on the pulse of Italian wine? Because it's a large country, every region of Italy produces wine. They have indigenous grape varieties that we haven't really heard of before. There's a whole food thing going on. Do you know what, Ol? I think we might need to go to Italy.
Do you know, Rich, is there any way that we can sort of go to Italy in London without actually travelling all the way to Italy?
I will see what I can do. I'm Mr. Fix-It. Leave it with me.
Wow, so here we are, Rich, here we are, as if by magic, as close to Italy as we possibly can get. Where are we?
We are not lying by saying we're in Eataly. However, I have to be honest, Ol, we're actually just outside Liverpool Street Station, sort of in the sort of eastern part of the city of London. The reason we're here is because a good friend of mine, who's also a wine educator and wine journalist, who also happens to be Italian. Buongiorno, Luisa, how are you?
Oh, buongiorno, Richard. Lovely to see you again. And hello, Oliver. I heard all about you because I listened to the first series of the podcast. Very impressive.
May I issue my most sincere apologies for putting you through that, Louisa. Absolutely lovely to see you. A genuine proper Italian in Italy. What could be better?
Italy is regional. It's like lots of different middle countries joined together. Italy has only been Italy since 1860, when that chap Garibaldi unified it, then retired and made some biscuits. So,
You love that gag.
I haven't heard that, Richard. Take it back.
It's like the magnificent McVitie's wines.
So what we're doing with the wines, Ol, is basically, it's impossible. Louisa and yourself and myself, we could be here a month and we would still be working our way around Italian wines, great varieties, discussing food interactions and all the rest of it. But what we're doing here in this fabulous place, this marvellous part of Italy, let's talk about the wines first. We can introduce the food a bit later. The Friulano, that comes from northern Italy. That's the kind of area north of Venice, northeast of Venice. The Grillo is a white wine from Sicily. So we've gone right from the top right to the bottom. We're tasting a rosé from Luisa's own province, Piemonte in the northwest. So we're tasting a pink wine, which is good. And then a bit later on, we'll look at some reds. And by the end of it all, I'm hoping we'll have had an ace time with all three of us having a convivial lunch. Secondly, we'll have tasted some delicious food. Thirdly, we'll have really enjoyed the wines. And fourthly, hopefully, we'll have explored a little bit of interaction between some of the wines and the food. So, I mean, what could possibly go wrong?
It sounds like the start of a workshop where people go, what are your aims and objectives of this workshop? Let's revisit them at the end of the episode and see if we've satisfied them.
And yes, can we get out a flip chart and write down
exactly.
loads of things? And I remember doing this at a conference once, writing lots of things earnestly on a flip chart paper. It was all really important to the future of the company. We all then went out and had too much to drink, and I left the flip chart paper in the boot of a taxi, never to be seen again.
While though, I think we should all tuck into this one beautiful aperitif, this Campari Spritz. We are cheapskates today, 1 glass and 3 straws.
Louisa, just tell us the importance of the aperitivo.
Aperitivo to start a meal and digestivo to end a meal. You start with an aperitivo to prepare your stomach, to receive the food and to make the dining experience more enjoyable. You end with a digestivo to settle your stomach and to help you digest better. Aperitivo is very important for us, more than cocktails. It's normally quite simple. It could be just a glass of Prosecco. It could be a spritzer with Aperol, or like we're having today, with Campari. It would always contain some bitter herbs, which means that it helps your stomach to receive the food.
I love the way there's actually a reason behind it, rather than just an excuse to have an extra glass.
Exactly. And don't you love the way that the Italians have worked out a way that we need to prepare our stomachs to receive?
It's lovely, isn't it? Louisa has had a sip already, of course. So we've got 3 straws. Yeah, I'm your conscience. And there it goes. As the ice bucket continues behind us, we seem to have an ice factory.
The noisiest ever ice bucket in the world, just as we start recording. But
Oh, my word.
I love it. Giorgio Locatelli on the telly. And he goes, oh, I love it. I love it.
I also love it. I also love
I
it.
love it.
I love it more. But you see what I mean? There is this touch of bitterness. There's these herbs which have been infused with this wine-based aperitivo or drink. Because let's not forget that aperitivi are normally wine-based. They are always infused with some bitter herbs on some herbaceous tones, because that's what helps you to receive your food before you eat. Allora, Grillo from Sicily, beautiful grape. It's so typical of the island of Sicily. And interestingly enough, the name comes from the word cricket.
Oh,
so
good.
that's, yeah.
Fantastic. So you know about boycott and Gower and all that, both of them?
I know nothing, but I can tell you that this is an autochthonous grape from Sicily, not a sporty grape. It comes from, the name is because there were a lot of crickets in this particular vineyards, which of course had to be disposed of or moved elsewhere because they were eating all the good grapes, but the name has remained. A very interesting thing to know is that for the consumers out there, one of the nicest, straightforward, very pleasant Grillo I've ever found is actually in the Co-op. It's just about £6.90, I think, and it is extremely pleasant. I would recommend it.
Have a go, Rich. How is the Grillosa?
What I like about it, it's got a good acidity, which is really important in Italian wine, often when you're pairing it with food. For some people, they might think, oh, that's a bit high acidity on my tummy, but if you're having it with food, you're going to neutralize that. And it's really fresh, it's really lemony, and presumably Grillo does really well in Sicily because Sicily is hot as anything, about as hot as it gets in Europe, and yet the acidity is still there. And that's the USP of indigenous Italian grape varieties. They hang on to their acidity even when they're in the deep south like Sicily. Really lemony, medium-bodied, absolutely delicious. Give it a go.
So desperate to have a taste of
Would
this.
you like a sip, old boy?
After that essay. But very, very interesting what you say. I'm expecting acidity. It's quite subtle, the nose, but I love it. Let me have a go. Lovely, lemony,
It's quite zingy, isn't it? It's very
zingy.
fresh.
Acidity is a good thing, right?
Acidity is a very good thing because it's what holds a wine together. Otherwise, the wine would be flabby in the mid-palate, and you want acidity to give you a clean, zesty finish.
And well, we don't want to be flabby in the middle, do we, Ollie?
Right, good. Better not put any photos up on the website. Our starter looks to me, I can see, is it mozzarella, fig and ham and rocket? Are those the correct ingredients?
No, this is not mozzarella, this is burrata.
Golly, I'm an idiot. Burrata.
Oh, I thought that was a donkey. Oh, no, that's Spanish.
Burrata, it is basically based on the word burro, which means butter, so it's a very, very, very creamy mozzarella. A speciality really of southern Italy, but mainly Campania and Puglia.
Oh, have a go at tasting the Grillo again as soon as you've tasted the burrata cheese, because obviously there's some fat in the cheese, and it'd be interesting to know whether you notice an effect, interaction of the acidity with the wine and the kind of fat of the cheese.
Wow. You know what? I expected nothing. I really did. But there was something. Right before, when I've done food and wine, I don't really have the adjectives. There was some sort of comment. Do you want to have a try as well? We're kind of running a bit low on the old grillo. I think you've eaten most of your cheese as well. It's a really interesting experiment. There is something going on where the two combine. So, Richard now is doing the experiment. The wine, which is a bit low, and the cheese. Although, to me, by the way, it just tastes like mozzarella, but it's very nice. What do you think? There's kind of a little explosion going on there.
What I love is the interaction. It's a simple interaction whereby the lovely creaminess, the fattiness, if you like, of the cheese is offsetting the acidity in the wine. So as a result, for me, the beautiful grillo, which tastes a little bit high on the acidity if you taste it by itself, when you have it with the cheese, the emulsifying fattiness of the cheese is pulling down the acidity of the wine, and the whole thing is integrating together.
I totally agree. I love the way that the acidity of the wine cuts through the richness of the burrata, and per se burrata is a very rich cheese. It's a match made in heaven.
Do you eat the skin of the fig, Luisa?
Do you eat the skin of the fig? What are you asking? Honestly, of course you do.
Right, so I'm not left in any doubt. I feel a bit embarrassed. I really should go back to my baked beans on toast, Rich. I remember we fed baked beans to one of our German au pairs, and she said, "Why would you eat this?"
I think she had a point.
This reminds me of one of my experiences because I came over to England as an au pair very many years ago, decades, but I won't tell you how old I am. I could not understand why English people would put salad cream, on their salad. Say, where is the oil? And I said, well, why do you want oil? Are you sick? Go to the chemist, because you could only buy olive oil from the chemist. I wanted olive oil and vinegar, and so vinegar is for chips, no, it's for salad.
Oh, I can imagine you as a innocent Italian girl coming to England being so sad at the food that was given to you.
My mother used to send me food parcels.
Oh. Here's some hazelnut.
Yeah, exactly. Here's some corned beef.
Enjoy your tongue, Luisa. Will it remind you of home? No. So, Luisa, we've been talking about, and I think it relates to appellation in the French context, but we're talking about DOC and DOCG. Can you just explain to us what they mean and what the difference is?
So DOC in Italian means denominazione di origine controllata, which is like the French appellation contrôlée. DOCG means denominazione di origine controllata e garantita, so it's the guaranteed. The difference basically is to have a DOC already means that your wine is, let's say, I don't mean superior, but it is, because it has passed stringent tests, it is an indication to the consumer that you are buying a good wine. DOCG, the guaranteed, doesn't necessarily mean that the wine is better, but it comes from more restricted zones. That said, we need to know that Chianti, for example, the whole area is DOCG. You can get some pretty ordinary Chianti and it's still DOCG. And staying into Tuscany, some producers have chosen to ignore the DOCG because the regulations are very strict. This is not to the letter, but I'm just giving you an example. For example, you have to pick on a certain day or between a certain period of time. You can only get so many liters out of so many kilos of grapes and so on. So wines which are really expensive, like Sassicaia Tignanello, have chosen to have the IGT, indication or geographical typicity, indicazione geografica tipica, outside the DOCG, because the producer knows best. They know what their grapes need, and they won't stand for being told you will pick at this time of the year, you will produce this much wine. They say we know what we are doing, and they can command a very high price even at IGT level.
And that's interesting because IGT, a bit like table wine in France, used to indicate the lesser quality wine because it wasn't good enough to get within the appellation rules. So the irony is some of the absolutely top wines, as Louisa's just said, don't want to be restricted by the rules of DOC and DOCG, do their own thing, make phenomenal wine, and kind of a label that could be misinterpreted as ordinary table wine.
This reminds me very much of a conversation in the first series, just to show that I've learned something. And of course, you're saying ordinary Chiantis can still be DOCG. It's an indication of not necessarily quality, but authenticity.
Telling you where it's come from.
And we have a rosé. And please describe, and let's have a slurp at some point.
This rosé is very unusual because it comes from Piemonte, where I come from. Didn't bring it with me. I got it from Italy here in London. Beautiful, beautiful salmon pink, made from the venerated Nebbiolo grape, the very best grape that you can find in Piemonte, the one that makes Barolo. But when it's vinified as a rosé wine, it will give you this outstanding, beautiful color. What I like about this wine, and you see when you taste it, it has the same intensity of a red wine, but not the color. And I like that because it really opens up on your palate.
My God, that is a red wine. It's a red wine in a rosé view. So there's very little left, Luisa, but salmon pink, it's a beautiful colour, and it tastes like a red wine. It's got loads going on. Oh, it's beautiful. It's really, really beautiful. Rich, have a go.
Red fruit, which you'd expect, I think, with Nebbiolo.
Can I say plum? I don't know.
Yeah, red plum.
Yeah, maybe.
But I think Nebbiolo is a bit plummy. Cherries and plums, absolutely delicious. And Nebbiolo, high acidity grape, as Luisa says, the grape behind the great kingly Barolo. Actually, yes, the acidity's there. It's not kind of really in your face in that wine. I think that wine is so beautiful with the fruit, don't you think? The balance is really good.
I love it. There's a perfect balance. And when we talk about wines, whether we're talking about white, rosé or red, the one word we want to look for is balance. Balance is the perfect amount of grape, of fruit and acidity for a white wine, and the perfect amount of fruit and tannin for a red wine. So, in other words, if you have too much fruit for a white wine, you will just have fruit juice. If you have too much acidity for a white wine, you will have something that will strip your palate. For a red wine, if you have too much fruit juice, you might as well drink Ribena. If you have too much tannin or too much wood, it will dry up your palate. So balance, balance, balance is the key.
If that was an example of balance, I love it. That was really nice. And the food's arrived, Rich. So
burger and chips.
It is. That's right. We've got. That's right. We've got some fish bites and crinkly chips. Now we've got a pizza that looks. I think the word is rustic. Tons of cheese, cherry tomatoes, obviously basil. That looks like pumpkin, but the spaghetti looks absolutely spectacular.
The spaghetti's mine.
Louisa thinks that she's going to get all the spaghetti.
Oh, right. Does that mean that we're not going to get a lesson on how to roll spaghetti?
Well, to be honest, I wouldn't like to wrestle Louisa for the spaghetti. She looks very much as if it's coming her way. And that is mozzarella with the spaghetti, right, Louisa?
It is, yes, it is. Quite unusual, but I'll forgive it.
It looks amazing. The sauce, tomato-based, obvs, and incredibly rich with a sprig of basil, Richard. I am now going to serve you a slice of pizza. Oh, just had a lovely mouthful, Rich. Oh, well, you did as well. The pumpkin pizza.
Pumpkin.
The bread. Oh, wow.
It's amazing. The base, yeah? Amazing.
The base, the pumpkin. Right, here we go. Oh, blimey, you're ahead of the game. Well, have a taste and then tell me what it is, the third wine.
So wine number 3, which is white wine number 2, with the rosé in between, the rosé between two thorns, if you like. Hopefully not too thorny. Let's see. Friulano, great variety. I know slightly, not terribly well known. It comes. Luisa, of course, interject if I'm getting anything wrong here. Friuli, Venezia, Giulia is that important quality wine region in the northeast of Italy, kind of north and east of Venice. Friulano is one of the indigenous grape varieties there, white grape variety. Smells lovely. Smells a little bit herbal and citrusy, and maybe a bit of green fruit. Oh, wow. And what I really love about this Friulano, it's got a gorgeous body. It's quite unctuous. The French would say voluptueux. It's quite voluptuous in its body.
I've got quite a textured body these days, Rich.
Have you?
Yeah.
Been to the gym?
No.
Oh, okay.
I've been to the pub and the supermarket to buy more pies. That wine is very light, very easy to drink, I would say. Luisa?
Would you allow me to disagree with you?
Absolutely, because you know what you're talking about.
Because I think this is a gastronomic wine. It is a wine that demands food. It is very full, very beautiful, and it's always rich. This is particularly lovely because it's 2018. But even if you had a 2020, it will still have this very rich characteristic.
Ollie may have said it was light because it didn't have that driving acidity of the Grillo.
Ah, okay.
It's light in the sense that it hasn't got that really mouth-watering acidity. It's broader in the mouth, isn't it?
Yes, definitely, that's so.
I'll certainly take that if it makes me look slightly less ignorant. I think I know what you mean.
I'm just rescuing you from a dodgy situation.
That's very kind of you. Thanks, Rich. You are my lifeguard.
But meanwhile, what is this? I mean, honestly, this is outrageous. They have actually brought me spaghetti with a spoon and a fork. What is this? I mean, since when do Italians eat spaghetti with a spoon?
For the record, Luisa is absolutely outraged. I don't think I've ever seen her like this, and I've known her for about an hour and a half.
I know, it's looking quite intense though, isn't it?
It could go either way, Rich, to be honest.
I think so, but Louise, you better give us a quick resume of how Italians eat spaghetti.
We use one implement and one implement only, and that's a fork, nothing else. This idea of putting your spaghetti into a spoon and then rolling them, it's not on at all. No Italian of any standing would be seen with a spoon near a plate of spaghetti. Come on.
At the risk of having a fork stabbed in my face, doesn't it make it easier to have the spoon?
I don't know. I will let you know in a minute because a lot has to do with the consistency of the spaghetti. If they have been cooked properly, if they have been cooked al dente, they will automatically wrap around your fork without any problem. If they've been cooked a little bit too long, you may have a little problem and you may need a spoon. I don't know.
There's probably a PhD written somewhere on the elasticity of spaghetti, or the there's a coefficient of friction in materials, I think.
That's
that
right.
is absolutely allows you to stay on the fork without falling off. The coefficient of resistance, something like that. For the record, you now see a perfect twist, I would call it, of spaghetti around a fork with no spoon. Louisa just threw it back and it landed in the kitchen with quite a clatter. So she's now armed with, and dangerous, with just a fork, but she has a perfect lump of spaghetti with a very rich-looking tomato sauce on a fork. And a fork alone. Remarkable. So, Louisa has kindly given us a portion each, me and Richard, of the spaghetti at the right coefficient of restitution for us to be able to twiddle. Richard is stabbing his with curiosity. Louisa is going on at a rate of about 3 twiddles a minute, but me and Richard are now going to try to twiddle. Rich, okay. I'm going to commentate as you do yours.
I just twiddle it and it's fine. I get a little bit of spaghetti initially, not too much, and then I just twiddle.
Twiddling it. There's an
twiddling
enormous amount coming out. Oh, no, wait a minute. Yeah, well, that was quite a big amount. And wow, it's gone in. And then the bite, and then the little residual bits drop off.
What's my score out of 10?
8. Well done, Richard.
Oh, very good.
I thought I was going to get 2.
I'm twiddling. Pretty much all the pasta that has been put on my plate has come up in a terrible stringy lump. And I've absolutely messed it up. Not too bad now, I guess. I'm going to put it in my mouth. What's my score?
You got a 7.5.
I do believe I lost.
Turnbull,
Yeah.
not bad, could do better. See me.
See me afterwards for a tweak. I think that's very fair scoring. I wasn't despondent, but I was amazed at Richard's technique. So, yeah, good. The pasta competition is over. We can move on to the wines now.
Thank God for that.
In Italy, they send us to university where everyone has a PhD in pasta.
PhD in pasta.
Born with a PhD in pasta.
It's a pasta higher diploma.
Indeed. It's like in France, you're born knowing exactly which grape varieties each appellation requires, because it'll never tell you on a wine label.
What are we born with in English?
Eating chips with your hands.
But we have to move on. Time waits for no man. The reds, Richard, you have your nose deep within a glass of a beautiful coloured red. Do you want to tell me a little bit about it?
Yeah. By the way, time and tide wait for no man.
Is that the full expression?
Don't forget the tide.
King Canute found that out, didn't he?
He did.
When they thought he was all-powerful. He's saying, I'm not all-powerful.
I'm going to stop the sea, but then he got rather wet feet and was a bit cross.
I'm not sure he thought he ever was going to. I think he was doing it to show the people what a stupid thing. Anyway, never
I
mind.
think it was a weird photo opportunity. Anyway, 2 reds to taste. The first red we're tasting, the first black variety making the red wine from the deep south, from Puglia. It's the heel of Italy in the south. Negro Maro means bitter, dark and bitter, which doesn't sound great. And my experience is Negro Maro is really delightful because the grapes being grown in the deep south with a warm to hot climate there, they ripen so easily down there in Puglia. You remember 30, 50 old? When we're talking 37 latitude or something down there, 38. Hot summers, really ripe grapes. Don't want the grapes overripe, remember, but you get a beautiful ripening of the grapes, and it's what I call sunshine in a glass type of grape variety. That's my starter for 10 before we taste it.
Louisa's very pleased with that. I can tell from her face. She's smiling, beaming.
Have I done something right?
You've done something
Oh
right,
my God,
finally.
I don't believe it. Yeah. On the nose, I mean, it is just, as I was hoping, it just smells like gorgeous, generous, ripe, red fruit. Please come and join me. Let's get together. Let's have a good time. And now I'm going to sip it and you taste it, Ob.
Go on then. I always thought dark and bitter was a pint. It's like something you don't ask for in a Midlands pub.
No, exactly.
I'll have a pint of dark and bitter, please, mate.
Somewhere in Nottinghamshire or something. Yeah.
Pint of dark and bitter, me duck. Hang on, let me try it. Fruity. Oh, it just smells so nice. Red fruit, Rich, am I right?
Very plummy, isn't it?
Oh, that just tastes so nice. Louisa has talked a lot about balance. And I believe the balance in this is good. She'll tell me if I'm wrong. But there seems to be that tannin, acidity, fruitiness, all balanced in a beautiful, there's a warmth of the alcohol as well.
A 13% alcohol wine is coming from the deep south because it could be easy, couldn't it, to get up to 14 or above. Is that right, Louisa?
13% is a good balance. It could go higher, but I'm glad that the winemakers are making this wine at 13% and no more because it is far more approachable for the consumer who might not have tasted Negro Amaro before. And so this is very good, very approachable. But you too, you haven't left me very much, have you?
No, we really liked it a lot. Negro Amaro, beautiful. The 3 Bs, balance, and the other one.
What, balance?
That's it. Here goes Louisa with the dark and bitter, and she has a very satisfied smile on her face. Is it what you wanted, expected?
From a Negro Amaro from Puglia, yes, I'd buy this wine. It's very good. Yeah. By the way, did you notice the speed at which I ate my spaghetti? You got to have your spaghetti while it's nice and hot, and you got to have it fast before other people will steal it from you.
Ah, right. That's the reason. That was pretty impressive speed. Okay, we're on to our last wine, Chianti Classico. Even I've heard of Chianti, obviously. But there's quite a lot of thought gone behind the choice of the 2 reds. I know they're from the same vintage, which makes them interesting to compare. I wonder if you could just explain a little bit more about how we should expect the 2 to be different based on sort of where they come from.
It's nice to have 2 wines from 2 different regions, but from the same vintage, 2020, because it does give you a better comparison of what to expect in terms of fruit, in terms of final product. The Negro Amaro from Puglia will always come from very arid soil, which means that the roots need to go very deep to get the moisture and the nutrients, whilst Chianti comes from the gentle hills of Tuscany with good irrigation and with a good variety of climates. So you do get your winter, your spring, your summer and your autumn. The wine is, you will find it's quite complex, very velvety. It's Sangiovese, which is very different also. It's also the grape, very different from Negro Amaro. But it is very velvety, and although it's higher in alcohol, 14%, it is gentler. You will find it gentler on the palate.
Wow, that is, I can't wait to taste it actually. Do you know what I'm reminded of, Rich? Mm-hmm. I'm reminded of season 1. What was it, The Beauty of the Earth?
The Beauty of the Earth. Do you remember?
Yeah, very well. And
soil, climate, this concept of terroir, understanding the environment, linking it in with climate, the possibilities for the grapes, your limiting factors, all those variables.
Stressing the little blighters to make them more productive.
That's it, and actually the viticulture is getting stressed because I think we concluded who would be a grape farmer because there are so many things out of your control, like the blinking weather and horrible things like, fungal diseases and scarecrows and hailstorms and God knows what else. Do you know what I mean?
Scarecrows?
Well, actually, no, scarecrows are... What I meant to say is scarecrows are used to frighten away the birds who could eat your fruit. No, we like scarecrows. We like scarecrows. Sorry.
That's a minor fit then. You're like, well, there's all the things like soil, climate, Ford Fiestas, and this type of weather, season.
Sorry, went a bit off piste there.
Yeah.
But lovely introduction, explanation from Luisa. I'm really interested in Chianti Classico. Everyone's heard of Chianti, which is a very, very large DOCG region. But Chianti Classico is actually a separate DOCG. It's not part of Chianti. It's next door to it, and it's in the more favoured hillier area between Florence and Siena. Why am I banging on about this? Because, linking back to the beauty of the earth, in central Italy, the summers are getting pretty warm. And the thing you get in Chianti Classico, as I say, between Florence and Siena, the altitude's about 400, up to 400, 500 meters sometimes. Slightly cooler from that altitude. Just slows the ripening of the grapes a little bit, which can give you kind of more interesting, nuanced aromas and flavors in those grapes, which combined with the great variety of behind Chianti, whether it's ordinary Chianti or Chianti Classico or something special like Brunello di Montalcino, we're talking about Sangiovese, always has pretty high acidity, high tannins. So in other words, it bears some similarities to, dare I say, Luisa's favourite Nebbiolo because of those high tannins, often high acidity.
Well, go on then, Rich. Louisa's already had a sip. I think she thought I didn't notice. I noticed. But here we go. The hand is around the glass, the nose is in the glass, if commentary is needed.
I've got this thing about Chianti Classico. It doesn't have to cost the earth. It's not the cheapest category, but I think it's a very good category of Chianti Classico. You get reliability, you generally get good quality. On the nose, you can really smell this beautiful fruit, these lovely red and black plums, cherries. It smells absolutely delicious, like it's got quite good intensity. And then when we taste, have that lovely, I get often with Sangiovese, this slight kind of sour, bitter cherry plums in a good way. A bit like the bitters in our Campari, our little aperitivo. Pleasantly, slightly bitter, but also very ripe fruit, and with this drive of acidity. I have to say the tannins, Luisa, seem quite soft to me for Chianti. What do you think?
Yes, indeed, the tanning is quite soft. I would say well developed. This is a Chianti made in the modern style because Chianti, as you know, Richard, would take years and years to mature. But now the more modern vinification techniques allow a Chianti DOCG to be ready so much quicker so that it can go to market so much earlier and be enjoyed for the fruitiness as opposed for being enjoyed for the big tannins.
And what do we think of the summary of the Chianti Classico?
I would consider it finished. That's the first thing. I would classify this as a very much a gone wine. I think I prefer the first one. Tell me how to pronounce it.
Negro Amaro.
Negra Amaro.
No, Negro Amaro.
Negro Amaro. I thought I said that the first time.
You did.
Oh, well. Oh, never mind.
Let me have a go. Negro Amaro.
Negro
Amaro.
Negro Amaro.
Very good.
No, she's happy. Thank God. This is like pleasing my first maths teacher, Miss Sowden, that I could do square roots.
Was that after you sharpened your pencils in her classroom?
In the electric pencil sharpener, remember?
We mentioned that in season 1. Very important link back to the first season. Okay, guys, that's the food done. That's the wines done. I have to say, what a lovely romp, a gay romp through parts of Italy. What do we do now, Luisa?
For me, I will skip dessert and we'll go straight to coffee, if that's okay. Maybe a digestif?
Coffee e digestivo, Oliver. What do you think?
Yeah, that's fine. I wouldn't mind a cappuccino.
Cappuccino? How can you possibly have cappuccino after lunch?
What have I done?
Oliver, you've drank wine, the tannins, the acidity, and you want to put milk on it? Just think of the curdle.
Won't it neutralise it or something?
Well, good luck in the toilet.
That's a lovely phrase, isn't it?
Good luck in the toilet.
It's very, very sinister, isn't it? There's sort of mafia connotation.
It does.
Hey, good luck
Could be
in the toilet.
Good luck in the toilet. But this is a rather nice circle that we're drawing, aren't we? Because we started off with an aperitivo with our Campari.
Let's finish with a digestivo.
And are we going to finish with a wine-based one or a spirit-based one?
Well, let's see what they have by the glass because I'm not quite sure. At worst, we'll have a grappa.
At worst, have a grappa. Oh my God, have you ever had grappa? Oh,
I have, so imagine what at best would be.
yeah, I know.
on the home straight with the digestivos.
Digestivos. Yes, Luisa, you were saying how some aperitivos can also be digestivos as well. Is that right?
Indeed, yes. And the typical example is this beautiful chinar. Original recipe. It is a drink based on 13 herbs, but mainly artichoke. Artichoke, as you know, it has a lot of health properties. It is very good for the stomach, for digestion. And
Stomach. Good for the love life as well, I think.
I'm not quite sure, actually. I think I'll go with the grappa for the love life. But anyway, the chinar, as an aperitif, you would have it with seltz. In Italian, seltz is soda water, and a slice of lemon and ice. And we have this long-running ad on television showing this man at a table enjoying a glass of chinar, reading the paper, and loads of traffic around him. And the slogan is "Chinar against the stress of life," which is beautiful. But equally, you would like chinar as a digestive at the end of the meal, straight, nothing else, just to settle your stomach. We have here in front of us 3 digestive. One is a beautiful grappa from Monovitigno, Arnese. Then we have the chinar, and then we have the amaro verna. So they have this bittersweet taste. Let's not forget the translation of amari, bitters, is not the same, because in English a bitter would normally be orangey in color or red, and be used almost as drops to add to a cocktail or something.
Angostura bitters.
Angostura, like Angostura, exactly, Richard. Well, here the bitter is better translated as digestive, because it is an infusion of spirit and herbs which settles your stomach, and it's absolutely beautiful. Incidentally, these amari, the digestives, could also be had with hot water and a slice of lemon instead of coffee at the end of the meal. Beautiful, especially if you don't want to drink coffee in the evening. This would be perfect for you.
Given Oliver's faux pas, if we can mix up our languages, with his cappuccino, I think his need of a settling, stomachy digestivo is probably greater than ours. So you better go first, Ol.
Yeah, I'm happy with that. So what am I having first?
Chinar.
This is chinar. Artichokes I don't go mad over, but it's really nice. There's a real warmth, caramelized feeling to it. It's really nice.
Gorgeous. It does
Yes,
smell
the
like
artichoke.
artichoke. It smells like...
I had a bit too much, actually.
Oh, God. That is just gorgeous.
Chinar is more like a tawny port in color, whilst this one is like a coffee color, black coffee color.
Oh, it's so nice. It's so nice. It tastes very strong.
I know, yes, it is strong, but it's not that strong. We are looking at around 16-20% alcohol.
Okay, here comes the grappa. Of course, it's white, colourless.
Here comes the grappa.
It looks so innocuous, Richard, like it's not going to help, but here we go.
I'm grapping myself.
Not my sort of thing.
You disappoint me.
No, not my kind of thing.
This is pure distilled grapes. Pure. And the grape is Arnese, which is one of the white grape varieties of Piemonte.
Is there a mint kind of taste to it? Have I got this completely wrong? But that taste is not for me.
I would say you were completely wrong. There is an intense alcohol. I mean, the alcohol is what, 30% or something?
40%.
40%. So, yeah, but my God, it's so distinctive.
Look at Richard, he's keeping the glass. I actually want this glass. Come here.
What have I done?
Nothing. I'm just saying.
You've had a lot of grappa. Really not for me.
You will grow up one day soon.
You drink like a child. This reminds me of my first whiskey. Admittedly, I'd probably be about 12. I was trying to pretend to like it to please my father, probably. But there's something about that I'm not into. The other two, I think particularly the middle one. What was the middle one called again?
Amaro Averna.
Amaro Aperni.
Gorgeous.
Yeah, I might order that. Which is your favourite, Rich?
Of the three, goodness me. I mean, I'm just such a sucker. I love them all. I love that grappa, but I want some dark chocolate with it. But tasting it by itself, I would go for either one of the first two. But I think the Sicilian the name again?
Amaro Averna.
Amaro Averna. Just really delightful, exciting, gorgeous. What a lovely drink. And I think we just need to, as we wrap up here, just a quick recap, folks. We've been in Eataly brackets, Liverpool Street Station, London, EC1 or something, or EC2, with Luisa Welch. Luisa, thank you so much. Grazie mille.
Molto bene. Perfetto.
Oliver, have we had a good time?
Absolutely delicious lunch. I've learned loads. There's only one drink I don't like, and that's the grappa. My spaghetti fell off my fork, so I got tut-tut for that. And then I ordered a cappuccino. So I doubt I'll see Luisa again, which would be a massive shame because she's been an absolutely charming and knowledgeable and beautiful accompaniment to a rather delicious lunch. I am replete emotionally and physically, and I wish myself good luck in the toilet.
Indeed, I think all it remains is for us all to say,
Salute.
salute.